This episode is sponsored by Agent CRM. If you're in sales and tired of paying 3, 4, or 5 different companies for your email, CRM, funnels, phone, follow-up automation, check out Agent CRM. It's an all-in-one tool that combines all that you need to reach out, nurture, and close your clients. They've got weekly support calls so you can get up and running in no time. Get a free 14-day trial by going to the link below in the show notes. Hey everyone, this is Dan Wynn with the Intentional Entrepreneur Podcast. I have a returning guest with me today, and he is a certified financial educator, over 10 years in the business, helping entrepreneurs, business owners, and families with their finances. I want to welcome back to the show, Joshua Hernandez.
Hello, Dan. Good to be on. Good to see you.
Thanks for coming back on. I know you just came back from a fantastic trip over in Japan. Tell us, what was your most favorite part about visiting Japan?
It was awesome. First time there. I am still full from all the delicious food. I guess that's probably the best thing about, not the best thing about Japan, but in the top 1 or 2, aside from all the history. But the food is amazing. I can't believe how much of a variety there is there, how delicious and fresh it is there, and how clean it is there. There's no trash cans on the streets. You can't throw away anything you have. They have a rule of you bring it, you throw it away. And had it not been for that, I think Japan would be a very messy place. Like some places in LA and New York. But respect to them, man. It was an amazing food experience.
Interesting that you mentioned it, because the last time I went, the number one place we ate out of was Family Mart and 7-Eleven.
You don't have to go very much farther than that. They sell sushi at those 7-Elevens. They've got some amazing curry. Bring them over here. What are we doing here with our 7-Eleven?
Come on, Family Mart and the 7-Eleven here. You got to bring what you guys have in Japan. And I want to buy my baseball tickets and fill up my cell phone inside 7-Eleven.
It's pretty cool. It is so cool. I did love those little rice balls.
Yep. Nigiri.
Yes. So yeah.
I've still, I've been there probably over 20 days, the time. I still have not figured out how to properly open one of those. Every time I open one of those, they all kind of spill out. And then I end up eating, like this, not like, the seaweed holding everything together.
There's an art form to it.
Yeah. All right. So, hey, welcome back to the show. And today we're going to talk about virtual family offices. But before we kind of get into that, just remind us, tell us a little bit about your journey about and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I got many titles. One of the easiest ones is a certified financial educator. And, what me and my teammates do is we help people make awesome financial decisions. We teach them how money works and the fundamentals of building and protecting wealth. And I've been actually at it now going on a couple of decades. And early 20s, I was introduced to someone that was in this industry, an educator. And of course, like any other 20-some-year-old, you don't have very much money. And so I was all ears to what they had to say about money. I was interested and I wanted to learn. And I learned more about, all things finance in that one conversation with that gentleman than I learned in school. I'm very grateful for that. And that was kind of my introduction to the industry. I actually have a background, human resources. And so I just dabbled in it. And I started talking to friends and family, and turns out that a lot of people that I knew who were doing pretty well for themselves, they didn't have a lot of coaching and support from the industry. And I found there was a huge need for this. And I was my journey into the industry, and I just I got better and better. And I found that there was just a ton of people that just aren't aware, or they only have what they have at their job. Nothing beyond that. And as I got better at this, I started working with people that own businesses and were becoming very successful. And what was interesting about that stage of my career is I found a lot of these people are making the same money mistakes that the everyday person is.
Hmm.
Business owners have gotten better at making money than maybe the average person,
Mhm.
but they don't always necessarily know how to keep that money. And that's where the virtual family office experience has come in handy. But that's my journey. It's been awesome.
Yeah. So for those of the listeners who don't know, tell us a little bit about what virtual family offices are and how they help business owners.
Yeah. So a virtual family office, or FO, was it's essentially your own team of financial experts dedicated to supporting you and your family in your business. Kind of a one-stop shop just for you. And originally, this was an idea that was put together back in the late 1800s by John J.D. Rockefeller. He billionaire status. He had multiple people helping him. The taxes. He had a financial person, investment person. He had an insurance person, and he decided, you know what, I want to simplify my life. I'm going to hire one person,
Hmm.
be my main point of contact, and that main point of contact became his go-to person, who then had their own team of people supporting just the Rockefellers, and they were in-house at their property. And that idea made it simplified, their goals and their annual reporting, and where they were going. And to this day, it's been made available, but typically made available to like very, very, very high net worth, wealthy, billionaires. But more and more is becoming a concept that is easily reachable. It's more available to the everyday business owner.
Fantastic. Just speaking of billionaires, I think it might have been not Rockefeller of the Chase Bank. I think it was him, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. It's like, hey, you know, or it might have been Henry Ford. Like, hey, I hire people smarter than me to do the things that I need to do or make my business successful. So it seems like that a family office is kind of along those ideas of of thinking. So
It is.
obviously, you mentioned finances, and then with that, always is there's probably some legal aspects to it. Can you talk about the disconnect between legal and financial professionals, and then how does that affect business owners?
Yeah. It's everyone's got an opinion.
Mm-hmm.
You talk to one person and they've got an opinion for you. You talk to someone else who's very smart. They've got a great opinion for you. You can talk to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
They've got a great opinion, all smart opinions, but they often differ.
Mm-hmm.
And when you start to move upstream, when you become more successful in life, you need smart people around you,
Mm-hmm.
and you need a team of people around you. And that includes a legal professional. That might include an investment professional. That might include your tax professional, right? And each one of those practices are niche. They're dedicated. They have their own separate need, and they're useful. Without one, you can't have the other.
Mm-hmm.
You really can't, especially if you've got big goals, you're accomplishing big things, you've got your responsibility, and you've got some great advice, but sometimes that advice contradicts if they don't know the other piece. Sometimes a legal professional might just know your legal needs, but they don't know your estate planning needs. A legal professional, I'm talking maybe like someone that's incorporating a trademark, but may not know estate planning
Mm-hmm.
needs. And even in those worlds, a estate planning attorney is very different in their experience with or knowledge with trademarks and entity planning. And then you've got your CPA who's going to give you some tax advice, specifically on taxes and legally around taxes, but may not know the other side of your business. Right. And then you've got your investment goals, which could be more long term, 20 years from now, where you've got your legal person and you've got your tax person kind of thinking about today, not really thinking about where you want to be 20 years from now. And they're that, if they're not communicating, or if you're not communicating as a business owner properly to these people, they're not going to know what you're thinking
Mhm.
in these different areas. And 10 years down the road, that could hurt your business, or there might be some unwinding of things if not thought through properly.
Okay. Okay. Now, um, there's two terms that I've heard: forward looking and backward looking with regards to advice. Can you distinguish between those two with regards to the family office?
Yeah, absolutely. So, specifically, that has to do with working with CPAs. A lot of business owners, they actually go to their CPAs as their trusted advisor, the person they come to for financial advice.
Hmm.
And CPAs are fantastic. They're smart. They're going to help you with things that need to get done today. They know a little bit about everything, but usually when you work with an accountant, what they're doing is they're looking at what happened last year. Here we are at the time of this conversation we're having. We're April 2023. We just, passed tax day, and most people, or a lot of people, had a conversation recently about their 2022 taxes, right? So you just spent time thinking about last year. We're already in the second quarter of 2023. Most of us should be thinking about what's going on in 2023, and your CPA is thinking about last year. That's what you call backward looking. Most accounting professionals are compliance related. They're focused on the right forms, compliance, and crunching the numbers for last year. The best accountants and the best professionals in the space in any one of these different specialties are thinking about not just what happened last year, but also thinking about what your business goals are for this coming year.
Hmm.
And if you're and a even better professional is thinking about what your business goals are for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years.
Hmm.
And that's the difference between backward looking and forward looking.
Hmm.
Is not just recording what happened in history, but understand what happened in history and start planning for what could be happening, this year and the year after. And the best professionals are forward looking.
Fantastic. Now, you mentioned CPAs, right? Because I think with with uh, with virtual family offices, a lot of the slant, I think the foundation of the benefit revolves around some sort of taxes or money, and whether you save in more or trying to prevent paying out too much. What what are you seeing between the CPAs themselves and family offices for profitable business owners? What's the experience like when those two kind of worlds collide?
Yeah, that's over the last few years, as I begin to work with more and more of my business owner clients, they'd come to me to plan. I'm very forward looking. My whole career has been about from here forward, and we'd put these plans together, or we'd attempt to, and then they run it by their CPA, and their CPA is thinking, well, that's not really going to help us today.
Mhm.
These strategies, I want to help you with today. And so what I found was the best CPAs have a network,
Mhm.
not just have a network, but collaborate and have a team, or the best business owners. So a lot of what I've been spending my time doing these days is working with business owners and also CPAs to help them put together a team of credible professionals that can communicate together on behalf of a individual business owner. And that's what the new family office. It's called a virtual family office, and with this technology in place, with Zoom, virtual meetings, you can now have virtual offices where you can have a team of people scattered throughout the country that are working together digitally to support one business owner. And that's what a virtual family office is. And that's what has made this concept from John D. Rockefeller more available. You don't have to be a billionaire, and you have to be maybe a mini millionaire, right?
Mhm.
You're on your way to wealth. You're becoming wealthy, and now it's just a matter of finding a team that can do this for you. And so that's what a virtual family office is these days, where you're working with either myself or we're working with CPAs to implement a team that can support a
Mhm.
business in all these areas. And so we've got access to 20 plus specialists in different areas throughout the country that come together to support our clients, rather than having each different specialist communicating separately.
Mhm.
They're all on the same page.
And just kind of expand on that a little bit, because even if you are on your way to being a millionaire, right? And you've got your CPA in one corner, you've got your business and estate planning attorney in one corner, you got your financial advisor in one corner. But some people will tend to have a conversation here, and then they have a conversation here. Expand a little bit on the benefits of a team approach and where everyone's on the same page.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So you might have a financial advisor you're talking to that wants to implement a strategy, and that strategy is gonna make you some money, but it's also going to increase your tax rate because of the profitability of that,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then your CPA looks at that and says, "Hey, we had this plan that you were going to be at this tax bracket. Now you made this change without my approval or my review, and that changes our whole plan." And that happens more often than not. And so, again, CPAs actually end up being a go-to person for the overall picture, because they're the ones at the end of the year helping the business owner track it, supply it to the IRS.
Mm-hmm.
And so CPAs become real critical in this conversation to one, understand different concepts, but also have open communication with different specialists. You may have an insurance professional, you might have an estate planning attorney. Attorneys, do their thing and they do it well, but they're not always worried about taxes. They're just worried
Mm-hmm.
about following the law.
Mm-hmm.
Again, taxes come into play that may or may not work with taxes. So, that when you have them working together, or have a CPA or an advisor that understands kind of this model, you can bring them all together to collaborate. And not everyone likes to collaborate.
Mm-hmm.
Not everyone can collaborate, and so that's maybe the difficulty of finding it. And not everyone has this idea. Everyone's doing their own thing, but when you find a team that is doing that for you, it becomes more efficient.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine we just went to Japan, right? And we talked about that, and we kind of like to do our own stuff, our own planning, right? So we're calling this hotel and this Airbnb, and I just got off the phone with another client of mine who's been to Japan, and he's got a travel agent that he calls,
Mm-hmm.
and he made a good point. He says, "Hey, Josh, you guys do a good job of planning, but if you ever want a travel agent, then I've got someone for you. They do great. I make a phone call. They know me already. I've got 3 kids. They understand my family, the age group, and I just tell them where I want to go, and they got my whole agenda set up for me, and it's spot on. And I highly recommend." Right? There's a big difference, right? Imagine having a 1 point phone call,
Mm-hmm.
point person that understands your situation, and you just tell them what you want, what your goals are, and then they come back to you with some ideas.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes a lot more efficient in support and achieving your goals.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's an analogy that just came to mind as you think about a virtual family office. Think about a 1 point person, a team supporting you, but one phone call.
Yeah, and you talk about the relationships that some businesses already have. So for some business owners, they've had long time relationships with either their CPA, their attorney, tax professional. What would you say to someone who maybe one of those three you know can't or won't collaborate, but with the team approach that the client can benefit greatly? So maybe some hard conversations has to be made, whether to get this professional on board or not. What would you kind of say to that particular client that might have to have that conversation with their longtime advisor?
Well, if it's let's say their CPA
Right.
that doesn't have a team,
Mhm.
and they have different people they have to come to. Talk to your CPA and tell them what you're looking for and ask them if they can deliver that. Here's what I'd like to do. Can you offer that? I'd like to first of all be more proactive. Can we have conversations about not just last year, but can we plan ahead? What ends up happening a lot of times with taxes is a lot of you go to your tax professional, give them all the paperwork, your books. They do their very best to to do something with what you gave them, something that's already happened. It's really too late to correct or change anything. The year's already over. Some of the best strategies are available that help minimize taxes before the year is over. And so the first thing I do is ask, can we be more proactive? What would that cost? Can we meet a couple of times a year? That also means that you as a business owner need to be open to having that conversation. You're not just waiting the last minute to say, I'm going to give my CPA everything at the last minute. You got to give them some help as well. So you got to be open to that. Not just an idea, but open to putting in the time to do that. That could save you money. They've got to be open to that. Then that team, approach comes into place. If they can't deliver, what happens with, when someone's talking to me is I then go to their CPA for them because I've got the team in place. And so my goal is not to take a CPA away from a client. My goal is to, if they've already got a good relationship with the CPA, well, let's see if we can help the CPA support them with maybe adding me on as an additional resource to help them. Now, if a CPA is not, adjusting because they have their own way of doing things, well, maybe it's time to start looking at other options.
So, we mentioned on the ways to millionaires, billionaires. What would you say is the sweet spot for a person to really maybe even start thinking about taking concrete steps to form in a virtual family office?
Oh, as to take advantage of that, you probably want to be a business owner that's generating a minimum $500,000 a year in revenue, or an individual that's getting compensated that much through different forms of income, whether it's real estate, W-2, maybe a side business. Once you hit that target in terms of revenue, then that begins to make sense. Or you're over $5 million of net worth in different places to have a true family office experience where you can see a sizable difference in the tax impact and the reduction of tax. If you're paying $250,000 or more in taxes, that's also indication that you should probably start looking for someone to see if there's other ideas for you and get this virtual family office experience.
So is there any maybe case studies that you're able to share with us about how a virtual family office can really benefit a business owner?
Yeah, absolutely. So there was one example of a business, small business, 15 employees, good revenue, and there's different kinds of retirement plans that you can implement. One of them allows the ability to make sizable deposits into a retirement plan. And the CPA was very well aware of that kind of plan. And it allows you to make a contribution, typically in a 401k. The business owner can make maybe between $25,000 to $60,000 a year of tax deductible contributions when you include their wage contributions and their profit sharing. But you have plans that allow for $250,000 or more of tax deductible contributions. So, that's the higher an enhanced version of a retirement plan. However, there's another version of that same plan that gives you the ability to purchase life insurance. Now, life insurance is a critical component to protecting the business and protecting the business owner and their family in the event something happens. And people are very well aware of life insurance. But there's only a few specialists that are around that understand how to make life insurance be available when inside of a retirement plan, where the contributions to purchase a life insurance become a partially tax deductible contribution. Purchasing a life insurance policy, typically not tax deductible, but when put together properly through a third-party administrator that understands these, You can make very large tax deductible contributions, have this income protection. So in the event something happens to the business owner, large sums of money will go to the family through the life insurance policy. And if nothing happens to the business owner, they've lived a long life, they have this tax deferred accumulation strategy. Their insurance professional was not aware of that strategy. Their CPA was not aware of the strategy, but we were able to look at that and work with the CPA to help them understand, bring the team together to do that. Right, that's one example of being able to do that. Another was working with another business owner who owned commercial property, and there's certain ways to when you own commercial property, you can accelerate the depreciation. Typically, it's 20 years or so that you can depreciate over a period of time. Well, you can accelerate that depreciation in about 5 years, and that provided a substantial tax deduction using the depreciation of a commercial real estate property that they have, which allowed them to fund with the savings. They were able to save over $150,000 in taxes that year, which allowed them to put that into other parts of their business. They were able to buy some equipment. They were able to put together a executive bonus program that they've been waiting to do, right? Which had nothing to do with retirement planning, but did have a lot to do with the growth of their business, savings of taxes. So those are a couple of different examples where different specialists and different areas came together to support a CPA to make sure everything was legit on the up and up, got their approval, and then they supervised the whole transaction because that requires ongoing tax filing. And so we supported the CPA in understanding those strategies.
Wow. So there's lots of different strategies that traditional advisors such as CPAs, even attorneys, and even in people in the particular industry like insurance, there's lots of strategies available out there that are not unknown until you bring an expert in and share about the particular benefits of those strategies.
Right. Yeah. Not everyone knows about them. Yeah.
All right. So, as we kind of wind down this conversation, what are maybe some parting thoughts that you'd like to share with someone who's out there who hey, maybe I should start looking into having this virtual family office?
Yeah. Well, I mentioned kind of some revenue, $500,000 of revenue or more, paying $250,000 of taxes or more. You definitely want to start looking at someone to help you. If you're in the process of selling your business or selling sizable real estate property where it's going to be $1 million or more of capital gains tax, then you definitely want to have a conversation with your tax professional and see if there's some a team available to help you. Don't wait till the sale happens. Do that in advance and have that conversation. But you don't have to wait to get to that point to be more proactive with your taxes. I mean, there's plenty of people that feel like they're paying $25,000, $50,000 in taxes. Small business, they are profitable. They're not, they're on the way to becoming more profitable. I mean, you can still benefit from proactive planning, and a lot of tax professionals can offer some proactive planning. So just ask, can I, if you like the idea of planning ahead, even if it saves you a couple $1,000s a year, having an extra meeting with your tax professional can be valuable. Ask if they're open to that. And then as you begin to increase your revenue, then you definitely need to look at having a team that's communicating on your behalf in some capacity.
Fantastic. So I'm here again with Joshua Hernandez, certified financial educator, talking about how virtual family offices can benefit the business owner. Now we're going to get into the rapid fire section of our interview. So are you ready?
Bring it.
All right. So who do you look up to?
I look up to my parents, hardworking, everyday people. Give me a great example of just being consistent and showing up every day.
All right. What's the best business advice you've ever received?
The best business advice is to be impatient with your activity, but be patient with your results.
All right. What's the best business book you've ever read?
The best business book has more to do with mindset, and it's
Mm-hmm.
an old traditional classic. I'm an introvert by nature.
Mm-hmm.
Talking to people was not a natural thing for me, and so when I read the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, that was kind of opened my eyes to just basic everyday human things that we all could benefit from.
All right. If you can do one thing over again, what would it be?
If I can do it over again, it'd be do it faster.
Do it
Do
faster.
things faster.
All
Don't
right.
don't wait.
Are you familiar with the phrase 3 feet from gold?
I am.
All right. So, as a business owner and entrepreneur, how do you know when you're 3 feet from gold, and how do you know when to pivot?
That's a good question. Right. So my first thought uh, is is all the gold been found yet? And if you
Hmm.
know it's still there, keep digging.
All right. And two more questions. What's the biggest challenge in your business today?
Biggest is time. Not
Hmm.
enough time, and really prioritizing. Right.
All right.
Yeah.
And finally, what's the best investment you've made recently that is $100 or less that has immensely improved your business life or your personal life?
$100 or less. Yeah, that's a good question. Simple. One of the I think about my headphones, but I think that was more than $100. It was around there. It was pretty close, and it lets me be mobile, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah. All right. Thanks again, Joshua Hernandez, certified financial educator, hanging out with us. Hey, if we're thinking about virtual family offices, what's the best way to get in contact with you?
Best way to get in contact with me is to schedule some time on a phone call. Timewithjosh.com. Website is timewithjosh.com, or look me up on LinkedIn and just do search for Joshua Hernandez Educator.
All right. Thanks again so much for hanging out with us, and look forward to hanging out with you again soon.
Same here, Dan. Thanks for
All
having
right.
me on, brother.